Thanks for tuning in to Bitches Be Cray. Just a quick reminder, everything we share on this show reflects our personal experiences and what's worked for us. We're not healthcare professionals, so if you or someone you know is dealing with a medical or mental health concern, please reach out to a qualified professional for support. What's up, bitches? Welcome to Bitches Be Cray. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Nancy, and today we're going to be talking about how and why we decided to start therapy.
Yeah, I feel like we've kind of peppered some stuff in here and there, but we've also been saying we should tell our therapy stories or how, like what you just said, how we even ended up here. So today we're going to share. And I was actually telling Nancy before I put play, I can't even remember why you started therapy anymore.
My therapy journey started back in 2008.
Oh, wow. It's a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. So,
were you single? No.
In 2008? Yeah, I was. I was heartbroken and single.
Okay.
Just like now. Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
okay.
So obviously since the age of 10, I've, shown a lot of signs of needing help. Insomnia, anxiety, just all kinds of shit and everything. I guess at the time, I feel like I think those times nobody cares. Back in the day, it was just
I feel like back in those times, well, not 2008, I'm talking about when you were 10, it seemed like only rich people went to therapy. That's my perception. Do you
I
have
was telling
that
my
too?
sister-in-law because my nephew, he has issues that he can't sleep either, and I had the same issues. And my parents never thought oh, she hasn't slept in 3 weeks. Maybe we should take her to the doctor. No, it was just, here's a shot of tequila and go to bed. Anyway, so I always had issues, but it wasn't until I was about maybe 18 that my mom finally was like, I think maybe you should go to therapy.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. She paid for it. It was, I don't know how you didn't know, because the reason I stopped going to therapy is because I moved to Atlanta.
Well, I remember you. No, I mean, I didn't know that your mom suggested it.
Yeah.
Why did she suggest it?
Well, at the
was
time,
there something specific?
Yeah. Well, the reason that she suggested is because at that time, one of my older sisters, started exhibiting a lot of psychotic breakdowns. So my mom, I think it freaked my mom out to think that, and I mean, it was very clear that I was very depressed. I had just gone through that super codependent breakup with my first boyfriend, and that one best friend and I that I had were also going through stuff. So I feel like she just was like, I cannot have another crazy daughter, basically. So I started going to therapy with it, and it was a guy.
See, I remember you going. Was he in Tennessee?
Yeah, he was in Chattanooga.
Yeah, see, I do remember. I remember something very brief about you going there.
So I went with him.
You had to drive there?
Yeah.
That's before virtual?
Yeah.
Before virtual life existed?
Virtual wasn't even a thought in our brains. The word virtual probably didn't even exist.
That was from the Jetsons at that time.
Uh-huh. So I went there for a little bit. Funny, my very first session was about my mother. My very first session, I cried uncontrollably. Uncontrollably.
With a brand new person?
Yeah, a man. I don't really remember much about him. I went with him for a couple of months. He was very cheap. It was at a church.
Okay. How did you find him? A person said?
Through our manager at the shoe department.
Oh. Cause okay.
She knew his wife, I think.
Okay.
Or she went to that same place. So yeah, you were in my life. Yeah.
Well, then it can't have been 2008 because
2009. Okay, 2009.
We met in 2009.
Yeah, 2009. Okay. Yeah, so you were in my life.
Okay.
Anyway, so I went with him for a little bit, and then I stopped going when I moved. So I moved to Atlanta.
So for years. Years?
I went for a long
Because I
time.
moved in 2011 and you either moved at the end of 2011 or 2012.
I moved at the end of 2011, beginning of 2012.
Okay, so for like 3 years.
Yeah, but I remember
Or 2
those.
years.
I think it was on and off for
2
like
years.
2 years.
Okay.
I don't really remember much of it, but I do remember telling him that I wasn't going to go anymore. And then I told him I was moving. And then he was like, well, do you want me to recommend someone? And I was just like, no. Honestly, to be clear and honest, I was still not aware of any of my issues that I have right now.
So do you think you were healing anything during that time, actually?
No, I wasn't.
You were just getting an unbiased outlet to speak to about stuff.
I don't think that I was completely asleep, unaware of me, unaware of none of my issues, unaware of what I was feeling. I didn't even have a name for what I was feeling. I didn't even know I had anxiety. I didn't know I had depression. I didn't know that I was lonely. I didn't know that I had binge eating disorder. I didn't know that I didn't, none of that shit.
You just knew something didn't feel right and people were suggesting, hey,
Mm-hmm.
why don't you? Because I feel like, I remember you and I talking about therapy because I feel like I felt like you were like, because people go around saying they're depressed, but like, you were like real, like legit
I was fucked up.
depressed. And I feel like, because I remember thinking when you told me you were going, I think we probably talked about it beforehand because we were already, close at that point. But I remember thinking, okay, good, like you need to go. Like not yet saying I need to go. I'm fine.
I'm good.
But Nancy, you need to go.
Nancy, you're the problem.
So that would mean that you were seeing this therapist during your long distance relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't even remember.
Damn, you still stayed through all that shit.
I don't even know if I ever talked about it. I don't know. I probably talked about Luca the entire time.
Interesting.
I don't even remember what we talked about in that fucking therapy session.
Wow.
Don't remember shit. So I flash forward to moving. Fast forward to 2019. I went to Mexico in 2018. I met a girl who said that she lived in the U.S., but she had a therapist that was in Mexico. And I quickly jumped on that because she was super spiritual. But mind you guys, I started my healing journey in 2017 alone. So I started reading a lot of books. After I had my daughter, it's like this rude awakening. Like somebody slapped me across the face and was like, no, bitch. Like your daughter cannot have a mother like you. Your daughter cannot be like you. Like I finally started realizing like I've always felt alone. I've always felt like in despair. I've always felt the only way I can describe depression. I just feel like there's just not a way to describe depression to people who've never had depression. But to me, depression is being in a pitch black room and there's no doors. And you're never going to get out. You can't see anything. You're just never going to get out.
And somehow you still have to function and go to your job
and be nice
and take care of your kid.
Well, for me, luckily, I'm what is the word? Oh my God, there's a word for people like me. And me and my sister-in-law always say it, like I'm just a very active, depressed person. So nobody ever knows. I'm that person. This is probably going to sound crazy. I'm the person that like goes into the woods and ends her life. And you would be like, oh my God, I can't believe she did that. She seems so happy yesterday at the store. Like I'm that person. I'm very like, I don't ever show. Like people at work would never know.
Like you're masking, like from the book series we did, you have masks to kind of, you don't want people to know.
But not a lot of people can do that. I'm very active. I could do everything. I could go and have the best day of my life with you. And a lot of people take that personal. Like both of my exes took that very personal. And they thought that I was lying. Like if me and you right now, we go and have a great day together, but deep down I'm very, very, very depressed. And I usually don't tell people that. Like I'm the one that's depressed. You're not going to know it. But once I did say it, it was about them. Like you're pretending to be happy with me. You're pretending blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, shut the fuck up. I'm not doing it for you. I just didn't think it mattered. Like it's like, I'm sorry. I just don't think it's necessary for me to go around acting my feelings out all day. Like, what's the point of that? So I feel like I just didn't want to fake my life with my daughter. I didn't want to fake loving her. I didn't want to fake being happy with her. I didn't want to fake play with her. I didn't want to fake hug her. Like I wanted to actually one day embrace my daughter and feel that joy that all women feel, or most women have been brainwashed to believe that we're supposed to feel. I wanted to feel that. So I feel like I started working on getting better. So in 2018, when I went to Mexico, I met this girl. She talked, because at this point I couldn't afford therapy. Or so I thought. I feel like people can always afford therapy. I feel like you can cut back in something that's like you don't need all those subscriptions, you know? So at the time I just was like, I can't afford therapy. So I did have this therapist from Mexico. And we connected right away. I loved her. And right at the peak of one of the worst moments in my entire like adult life, she fucking left me.
Why?
She just ghosted me. Never saw her again.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like you had, like your session was fine and normal, and then just,
She just fucking left.
well, hopefully something bad didn't happen to this person. Like, that's
I don't know.
crazy.
Never contacted me ever again.
Huh.
Never again.
I don't remember this at
Remember
all.
her? You remember the Mexican lady from Mexico?
No.
What the fuck?
Who knows what I was going through during that time of my
It was
life?
probably your teaching shit.
Maybe.
It was 2019.
So yes. And that was my
But
worst.
no, I had her for a while because
Those are my, from 2019 to 2021, 22-ish were some of my worst years. So that explains a lot.
I had her for a while because this was the time that I was smoking, but not the cigarettes.
Okay.
And she's the one that taught me about the abuse of cannabis and how it was affecting my life. I mean, she did a lot of good. She was very spiritual. She did Reiki. She was just really good. She was a really good therapist. She was probably one of the best therapists I've ever had. And I really, really, really liked her. And she fucking left me. And she left me at a time.
Abandoning you, like really, that's not what you needed for sure.
No,
from a woman. From a woman.
And this was the time that I ended that friendship for good, remember?
Okay.
For good. So this must have been, I would need to go back. It must have been like 2020. So yeah, I never heard from her again. But her advice was fantastic. She was fantastic. Anyway, she left me. So I went on maybe another 2 years alone. And that in 2021, I finally discovered the inner child, which was always for me. I'm going to say for everyone, but obviously everybody has their own feelings and feels how they feel. But for me, the inner child that's the core. If everyone can start their inner child, you're going to heal. Like that's the beginning of the beginning. Even if the shit that's happened to you as an adult, it's shit that you attracted into your life because of your childhood trauma. So the day, I feel like I went in circles for 6 years. And I learned a lot of shit. I know a lot of shit about a lot of shit. You know, when it comes to mental health, I know so much shit, but I feel like, does it really all matter? You know what I mean? The day that I found out about the inner child is the day that finally something clicked in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
And I started working on that. And then I went on doing that for maybe about 6 months, maybe a year. And then one day I was just like, I cannot reparent myself alone. I think that's what led me to go to therapy the last time. I needed to learn how to reparent myself. So I'm actually, my therapist is like she's an expert in family systems, which is reparenting. It's a therapy where it helps you, I guess, be the parent that you didn't have. So, of course I didn't do that right away. I was just like, I need to go to therapy. I need to go to therapy. I need to go to therapy. But of course I didn't. So what are we in 2025? Mm-hmm. So I started in 2023. So it was in 2021. Oh no, it was in 2021 that I discovered the inner child. And I didn't go to therapy until August of 2023.
Okay. So when you first started with the therapist you have now, like in 2023, when you met with her, what did you tell her you were there for?
To reparent myself.
Okay.
I told her
So you
that,
like for sure knew that's why you wanted
yes,
to go.
because I already knew what the problem was.
Okay.
I knew that the lack of, like, I had no rules growing up, but I wasn't allowed to do, like, the only thing I wasn't allowed to do was go out. But other than that, I had no bedtime, no food restrictions, no TV restrictions at all. At all. Like, my parents were letting me watch whatever the fudge I wanted. I mean,
Like you weren't being monitored.
come on, like
Except like if you were home.
not even.
No,
The
I
only
mean
thing my
like,
mom
are you
cared
home
about,
or are you not home?
yeah,
That was the only
that was the
monitoring that was
only
happening.
thing. And then my parents they were frankly afraid of me in other ways, because I remember one time she caught my boyfriend inside the house that I wasn't supposed to have, and obviously he left or whatever. And my mom was like, "Give me your cell phone." I was like, "I pay for my cell phone. I'm not giving you my phone."
How old were you?
15.
Oh.
I had no rules, no rules.
So
like,
you did, so obviously you didn't give her your phone, and she was just like,
I was like, "Get the
okay.
fuck out of here." So I mean, come on, they left me, like I said in the previous episode, they left me alone always.
Well, I was gonna say, I feel like for a parent who's been like neglecting you and absent, they can't just think they're gonna show up and be like have all this control of us. Like I guess I'm saying I'm not surprised your reaction was I pay for this. I'm not giving you this. Like
Yeah.
even at your age, because
Yeah.
like to you, you're like I've been like you were obviously thinking this, but like somewhere deep down, you're like I've been taking care of my shit forever. Like you need you to
Yeah.
come tell me
I mean,
anything.
I feel like I've always been an adult.
Yeah.
Like, I never got to be a child. So that was my biggest issue. Like, and then I wasn't a good parent to myself. I let myself eat whatever I wanted. And then I saw that as a grown up. I saw it as a grown up, and I saw it even more after I had my daughter. Like, I saw that I wasn't showering to take care of myself. I mean, that was not 2021 where I didn't shower for a month, you know?
So you were neglecting yourself just as
My parents.
you were neglected from.
Yeah, I wasn't a good parent to myself. I feel like I did
Right.
pretty good for myself because everything I know, I taught it to myself. I feel like I did pretty okay. Like,
Was it really very like surprising that you didn't really understand boundaries with yourself, where your
no,
parents never taught you how to have any?
I don't think my dad had ever. I don't think the word, till this day, the word no has never came out of my father's mouth.
So what about your siblings? Didn't you mention? Did they have? I mean, I know you
They had big problems with the way my parents were acting.
because with you,
because
because they had a different
Oh my
experience.
God,
So
yeah.
your parents were really truly different with your other siblings, and by you, they're just like screw it.
They didn't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah, they're like I'm done with
Like,
this. I'm too old for this.
Yeah. I mean, I kid you not, one time, I mean, my older sibling, who's way older than me, this time I had permission to go out, and I went out, and when I came home, my mom was beating the shit out of him with a broom because he was out too late.
And you were home after him,
And
and you were
I walked
younger,
right in,
and nobody cared about
and nobody
what
even
you
gave
did.
a fuck. Mm-mm.
Yeah, that would piss me off too. I feel like I have, like, I feel like I had all these. I say a lot of times I feel like I didn't have like any, like I got to do whatever I wanted as a child. But as a teenager, my mom did have a little more restrictions, we'll say, on me, like about what time I was supposed to be off the phone. You know, I didn't do it, but what time I was supposed to be off the phone, like couldn't have a boy in my room with a door closed, like that kind of stuff. But like then my brother would have girls like the same age I was. Well, not, a few years later when he was the age I couldn't have a boy in my room. He had girls in his room upstairs with the door closed. Nobody even cared. That pissed me off. So like, I get it.
But that's just the boy girl rule thing.
I think my mom just decided she didn't care, but maybe too.
Honestly, the way people see it, because I'm not going to name her, but I have a friend whose mom was the opposite of mine growing up. She let her do whatever she wanted. So not too long ago, I told her I was jealous of her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I was jealous of you.
Wow.
She's like, you had parents that cared about where you were at, basically. She's like, I was jealous of you. And I was like, well, I was jealous of you, bitch. Wow. But I feel like for me, I see people were like, oh, she could do whatever she wants. Like, to me, that's just neglect.
So you felt like nobody cares about me.
And at a very early age, I knew that when I had kids, it was No.
I mean, I think we talked about this before in a different episode, but when you say that, it just always makes me think of that Crazy Beautiful, that movie where Kirsten Dunst's parents like just she was like out all night, had boys out like
Mm-hmm.
no, well she had boys, you can't have boys, but
No, I couldn't
like you
have
know what I mean,
boys.
like she was just out doing whatever, like nobody said a word,
Nobody gave a fuck.
and that's like it sounds like how you felt.
And for me, if like we went to the store, like I always got my way in absolutely everything except going out. That's the only way that I did not have my way. But I just ran my own life.
Well, I guess maybe your parents were like, if she's home, she's safe, but they didn't realize you were hurting in other ways
In every
with
other
the
way.
neglect
Yeah.
and the abuse of food
Yeah.
and eventually cigarettes
Yeah.
and a relationship with a boy that was probably way too intense for
No, I mean, yeah,
that
that
age.
relationship was so intense. And I feel like the only reason I sought that relationship is because I was so lonely. Like, he was the very first person that ever showed that they gave a fuck about me.
Yeah. And that feels really good when you haven't had that.
Mm-hmm. Like I felt safe. That was when I met Luca. Was probably when I started. That was when I was. Not when I met him because I met him when I was 12, but when I started being his official girlfriend when I was about 15 is like the very first time that I was able to sleep without a nightlight. So it was about safety. I never felt safe ever. So I just didn't want my daughter to feel that way. So that's why I feel like when I found the inner child and I started to heal, that's when I was like, and I got to like, I guess I hit a brick wall where I was like, I cannot do this by myself. I cannot parent myself. I've tried, I've done all the techniques and I feel like I'm going in circles and I cannot do this anymore. I need help. So that's when I decided to seek this last therapist. And it was just like, I prayed because it took everything inside of me to do it, to actually find someone to
Yeah.
text them.
How did you find your therapist? I don't remember if I
Well,
know
my
how.
sister-in-law went to this therapist in town, and I contacted her and I told her kind of what I was looking for, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, I think you're looking for family systems." And I was like, "Okay." She's like, "I don't do family systems," and I was like, "Okay, whatever, bye." So then I put on Google family system therapists, and a bunch of them came up, and then I saw her, and then I just wrote one. I just wrote her, and I wrote her, and she like replied. And then we met, and then just instantly, like the moment she came in the camera, like we just smiled at each other, and
It just felt right. You just knew.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's super weird because I'm usually intimidated by women like her because she's so beautiful. Not because she's beautiful. I'm not intimidated by beautiful women. I'm intimidated
Maybe
by
she's feminine.
feminine. I'm intimidated by feminine, put together women who have like makeup on and
Look
like
like a presentable human
like
being.
like a, like a human who gives a fuck about themselves, you know.
Yeah.
And she's always like super girly and looks like Jennifer Garner. She really does. Um, but it was just instant. Like I just instantly like loved her, and I've been with her ever since. And I feel like I feel like there's a great difference. I feel like I'm a different person. I was just telling you earlier. I feel like we're different people than we were like at the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
and it's only been 3 months. So crazy.
2025 is the year of change.
It's the year of pain for sure.
Year of pain. Well,
Woo!
yeah.
So that's my journey.
Well, and how long do you think you'll be with?
Um, I wouldn't mind being with her because I love her because she's constantly learning. Like she was doing this EMDR thing. Like I feel like she's constantly doing things to get better. I feel like people outgrow their therapists because their therapists are not growing. Like if we're both growing and we're both learning different techniques and different things and this and that, like then we could be a fit for each other. But if I'm over here doing some other crazy shit and you're still doing something from 1920, it's like, and that's one thing I like about her too, that she's very like into like spirituality and like all this crazy shit that I do and tapping and all, you know, like
Like she's
read,
truly just the right fit for you.
yeah, she's read books I've read, you know, all that. I feel like she's just a mate. I love her.
You know, I feel like I've seen stuff about people are like, you're not supposed to be in therapy forever. You're supposed to learn techniques and heal and move on. And I don't know if I agree with that, because you're, like you said, in these last 3 months or 4, we're in April 4. So the last, like, well, we're barely in there. But anyway, the last like 3.5, 4 months here, and we've already changed so much. And so I feel like the things that I need now could be so different than the things I needed last year. So I feel like as a person, you're always growing and evolving. Like, sure, you can learn techniques to use so for example, since I have ADHD and I get in thought loops, sure, you can teach me something to help me get out of those, but that doesn't mean there won't be something new work related, family related, health related in my life that I won't need.
But the thing is
for.
that for me, like, I go back to what I'm saying, what I keep saying. Most people go to therapy to talk about like the current event. No, you should be talking about the real reason the current event really even happened, and that happened in your childhood. I think we should all go to therapy to heal our childhood and then reparent ourselves to be the parent that we needed. I think there's even me with all this knowledge, I managed to fuck my daughter up. And she became this crazy ass type A personality. You know? So even with all this knowledge, I'm still fucking up my daughter every day. And I still have to be like, fuck, I shouldn't have said that. Fuck, you know, like, so with pure knowledge, I'm still managing to traumatize her. Imagine our parents that were, it's not their fault. That's not their parents' fault. They were asleep. So I feel like if we all can go back, heal that little kid, reparent it, and teach it rules and structure and healthy boundaries and self-care and all of that, then maybe we won't need therapy.
I mean, maybe.
Because we'll be better equipped to handle the day-to-day. Sometimes we can't handle the day-to-day because it's not even us handling it. It's our 12-year-old who freaked the fuck out and got triggered.
Right. Or like the reason something current is an issue is because of something you haven't taken care of or understood.
Yeah, about yourself.
From the past.
That's my journey. I'll probably be with her forever. Until she'll be like, I don't want you no more.
Hopefully she doesn't ghost you like your girl from Mexico,
that's
though.
Crazy.
I don't see that will happen.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Well.
What about you, Amanda?
For me, I mean, I don't know if we really probably don't count this as like quote unquote therapy, but I remember in elementary school, you know, you have all these special classes.
Miss Sandy, remember Miss Sandy?
Yes. So you have like, you know, PE and music. We did not have art, you know, but every school I've ever taught in has art. And I'm just like, wow, y'all some bougie. Y'all got art. But anyway, you know, like once a month you would have guidance.
Miss Sandy.
Counseling. Yeah. And there was Miss Sandy. And so every year she would come and she'd read the same book.
Did she tell you a story about her kids being molested every time?
That's not ringing any bells for me. But I remember her book. Do you remember the book?
The No Touching book?
The I'll Love You Forever.
No.
What? She read that book. I don't know what the book's called, but it had like she sung it like a song, the part that repeats. The book is about a couple has a baby, and then throughout life, she's taking care of the baby. Why make it?
Oh my God. Is it the cycle book where she drives to his house in the middle of the night?
Yes.
Oh, you're not going to believe me.
Oh my God, what?
My niece, when I went to Colorado, she's like, my in-laws gave me the creepiest fucking book.
It was that book?
And I was like, what is it? She's like, let's read it to the kids tonight.
She's like, let's read the creepy
And
book.
I was shook at that.
So it must be that book. Yeah, because at the very end,
she sneaks into his house in the middle of the night
she's like
to
rocking
cuddle
him
him, to
over
rocking
something.
him forever.
Yeah.
That book is creepy.
And then at the end, he's rocking his mom.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it was just cute because it's like the cycle of...
You think there's nothing wrong with you breaking into your son's room in the middle of the night as a grown-up to cradle him in your arms and tell him you love him forever because you're codependent to him?
I didn't say that. I'm just saying I thought it was like, you know,
this is insanity. That is so crazy. Keep going.
No, to me it was like your mom's taking care of you, and then when she's old, you take care of her. That's the thing that I connected. I understand what you're saying though. Okay. Yeah, now that I'm older, I can. But I was just like, she read that book every single year to us. Anyway.
I don't remember that.
Well, girl, it was there because she would sing it. I can literally hear. Anyway, the point is that Miss Sandy, I really liked her.
I love Miss Sandy.
She would come in. She would do all kinds of. I mean, it's guidance, right? She's teaching you all kinds of various things throughout your entire elementary school. At least she was at our school. And when my dad died, I was in 5th grade, and they had me, I say they, I don't know if it was my teacher at the school, like, whoever decided that my brother and I should go talk to Miss Sandy.
I mean, I think it's the right thing to do, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if we went together or separate. I just remember my brother was in kindergarten. It was the only year we ever went to school together that year. And so I honestly don't remember I remember the day or the feeling of like being outside of her office waiting for my turn. And I remember that I was in her office, but I could not tell you
what you said to Miss Sandy.
I don't know, one single thing she said to me or what I said to her. Again, I don't recall. I know my brother was supposed to also go. I don't know if we went together, if we went separate.
Maybe you disassociated.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I just remember feeling like not embarrassed, like that it was weird. Like I was being like forced to go and like other people knew I was going. Like it felt weird.
I just feel like back in the day when kids lost their parent, even if you watched in the movies, like it was always about the woman losing her husband.
Or, I mean, think about like Full House.
Yeah.
Their mom was, I feel like a lot of shows are having a missing parent.
Mm-hmm.
You ever notice that? And then, I mean, I don't know. But yeah, it's.
Like, I feel like they focus more on, like, the adult focuses more on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the adult never really thinks, oh, maybe I should go give my daughter a hug. She just lost her father.
Let's make sure Junior's doing all right without his father figure. I mean, seriously,
she's too busy crying, oh, I lost my husband, but you're going to get a new one.
Exactly.
This person lost her parent.
Right.
You know?
It's
not replaceable.
Exactly.
You're going to replace.
Yeah.
This is unreplaceable. This is an unreplaceable thing for them. Like, come on. It's about them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way I think anyway.
But that's not how people work. Like you said.
No, most of the people know. I don't even know if they're doing it now.
I mean, that's true. I would like to think so. But then again, I think it depends on the person. Because maybe back then, probably there were some parents who would have thought about that too. Somebody who had more like self-awareness around their own feelings.
Yeah.
Like, but obviously if I'm like, I would think like if I'm hurting, of course my children would be, but sometimes people aren't in the state to deal with that, I guess. But that was my first, what I'll call experience with therapy. However, I think I only went like one time. Like, I don't remember it being, I mean, my dad did pass away in April. So we're at the end of it was almost the end of the school year.
Isn't it weird that you just went to do some grieving for your father in the same, was that intentional?
No.
Oh.
And I've had this book all this time too. I don't know why I finally read the book, but I did. But yeah, that's interesting. Maybe somewhere deep down. But so I don't know that I would call that therapy, but it was like my first experience with therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I went back to my class, like I don't know how long I was there, but then my entire class had written me letters.
Oh, how did that make you feel?
I mean, I think I was thinking like, oh, that's nice, but also like, this is kind of weird. Like, I had like 2 or 3 friends, like suddenly everybody wants to talk to me. Like, it's like when somebody gets a new toy and everybody's like, oh, hey, like, it's like, I don't know. It was weird.
But you don't think it's like a sense of community, like those communities where like.
They were forced to write me. They didn't want.
No, I know, but like, that's how you build community, because a community is like, you may not talk to your neighbor, but if you see her on the ground when you walk out tomorrow, you're going to run over there and pick the bitch up.
No, like as an adult, I see that as like my teacher certainly wanted me to feel supported and like, hey, we're sorry this happened to you. Like, no, I think it was a nice gesture. And I don't remember at the time being like, okay, but I also think I thought like, oh, it's kind of weird.
I mean, but
it's weird to get the attention. How about that? That's the part that was weird, because at school I was very quiet. I had a few, I had my friends and I didn't really socialize with other people. So it was weird to get the attention. That's the part that was weird.
But do you feel like you even understood what was happening?
I mean, I knew my dad wasn't coming back, but that's about it. Like,
because nobody sat down and was like, hey, Amanda.
Who was I talking to about this? Maybe it was Greg. Maybe I'm going to bleep that crap. Maybe we'll get to that. I'll bleep the whole section. So I guess since we're on the topic of my dad dying and grief, I just took a trip and I was reading a book called Grief Recovery. And the reason I bought the book, I bought it last year, I think. And I think I bought it shortly before I started therapy. So maybe like last summer. And because I had realized after my grandma passed away, her passing away kind of made me realize I don't really think I ever processed my grief with my dad. Like, it just was a little thing that happened and then I like closed the door.
I think that to be true because since when we met, you and I would bring stuff up about it. You acted like it was nothing. I was just like, oh my. You even made a joke one time. You said, Titanic played
Yeah.
for so long that I went to watch it with my daddy, and I went to watch it again right after he died, and I had long enough time to get over it.
Yeah, we had enough time to grieve. We went back.
Yeah, that you went back and
Yeah.
watched it, and I was just like, oh my
It was really a
god.
joke about Titanic. No, my daddy, he just happened to be thrown. Like the Titanic ran that long
Yeah, that.
that I had time to grieve and
And
go
she went
back
and
to the
watched it
movies.
again.
Yeah. Well, my dad was very into humor. I actually think he would find that incredibly funny.
You said that at the time. No. I think it's funny, but every time, I always feel like I can never like my other best friend. Her dad also passed away in the 5th grade. Um,
You're attracting us hurt people.
I mean, all the women in my life have problems with their father. So,
okay.
but anyway, um, and she had never really. I always feel weird. I don't know how to talk about it. I don't know how to bring it up, but I feel like every time I did bring it up to you, it was just, you always acted like it wasn't that big of a deal. And I'm just like, oh
Well, I think probably because by the time I met you, I mean, how many years would that have been? Like,
no. Almost 10 years.
like 11, around 11 years. That I think to myself, I felt like,
That's enough.
it's been this many years. What else is there to be upset about?
But then I talked to my mother, and she literally tells me that it's not a fucking waking moment in her life that she wishes that her parents weren't here.
Yeah.
That there's not a waking second that she does. There's not a day that goes by that she doesn't think about her mom and dad. She always says that.
I think about my dad every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
I guess I just don't always what am I not like it's anything to say.
Yeah. But my mom all the time. So I feel like it was different because I'm so used to my mom being my mom is so vocal about her loss, about her parents. But she was also a grown up when it happened, though. She was 32.
Okay.
Like a young grown up, but she was 32.
Right. I think some people don't want to heal because it's going to be painful. For me, that wasn't the case. I mean, I don't want to be in pain, but like I haven't known how.
I feel like you were in denial. I thought you were. I thought you were okay.
Yeah, I think I thought so too. Until my grandma died, and I'm like,
wait a god,
I don't know how to deal with grief too well. But anyway, the book Grief Recovery. But
even then, I didn't see you that.
I don't think I haven't grieved her either.
I don't saw you that distraught. I mean, when it happened, I was in another country.
Yeah, I cried for like a day and a half.
Yeah, that's it. That's not long enough. I'm so sorry.
But, and I mean, I think about her and I think about stuff and I get upset sometimes. But no, my grief with her is not processed
at all because you guys were so close.
It's not. Well, and that's the thing that I was telling. I don't know, whoever I was telling, probably my therapist, that like my dad was my favorite person.
He was. Yeah,
I loved him so much. And then, like, I'm going to cry now. And then my grandma basically raised me as my neighbor, and she was my second favorite person.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like my mom and love my mom. I do, but our relationship was not the same. So now my two favorite people are gone. But
also, I feel like your grandmother
sucks.
Your grandmother as the favorite person that you had was already gone.
Yes. And so therefore I have two things of grief to process with her.
Yeah.
The real one, and then the person I had to learn to love another person. And I did love her, but it was a completely different relationship.
Yeah, it was.
So now I have two. I feel like I have two relationships I have to grieve that I haven't grieved yet. With my just with my grandma. There's plenty of other ones, but I mean with my grandma. That I'm gonna have to do that for sure.
Yeah.
But I really wish my mom, I mean, she did what she could do, but I wish at the time that things were different, like not just like as my mom, but just as like society. And I wish I would have been put into therapy.
I think all kids that go through some weird shit.
Losing a parent, like probably divorce.
Yeah.
Losing a parent. There's so many things, but like those are two really big ones that I feel like I really wish I would have.
Like I wish it was mandatory. Therapy. Like as soon as like, hey, your father just passed away, you need to, they're like, you need to take this kid to therapy.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck?
But I mean, I don't think I literally knew anybody in therapy when I was that age, adults, kids, like the word therapy, didn't even, other than counseling in school, like no clue, didn't have any like idea of it.
Mm-mm.
So I guess as part of my journey to therapy here, when I was like 11, 12, and I started watching The Nanny, and she went to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what is this? I'm like, I want to do that. Like, I wanted to go. I'm like, yeah,
Why
that
didn't you bring
looks,
it up to your mom? Maybe she would have taken you
I
after
don't
being so
know
persistent.
right? I don't know. I may have. I feel like I mentioned I would. I don't think I'm like was like, oh my god, I need to go to therapy. I'm having issues. But I think I might have mentioned like, oh, therapy seems like something kind of cool. I would want to do. She knew eventually I wanted to be a therapist. Like that show made me want to go to therapy and to be a therapist. I just thought,
Mm,
wow, what
that
a
is so
job.
awesome.
Yeah,
That is a good
like
job.
you can help people.
Mm-hmm.
You get to have relationships with people and you can get help. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was just like, dang. And then, so then I just kind of turned into a, not thinking like, oh, I need to go through. I was like 12. I didn't know. But like that I wanted to do that. There were many years, like all throughout high school, I thought that would be the career that I went to, but then I didn't want to go to school anymore. So I just didn't. But that was it. I didn't have any other thoughts or experiences with therapy until I was in college in 2011 when I moved away from home for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going through my breakup with my 4 year long distance relationship. Now I lived closer to him and I knew he started seeing someone. So at first I'm like, I live closer to him. Maybe at some point we'll reconnect and we'll date because I'm
Mm-hmm.
closer now. We could actually date. And knowing that he was with someone else, and I literally tried so hard to like move on from him. I tried not to think about him. I tried to date other people. I tried to hang out with new people. I was making friends. Like I was like, I don't want to think about him anymore. And it's like, I just did not know how. And I wonder now if a lot of that's part of like, cause with
You don't know how
AD,
to grieve.
well, that for sure that, and part of ADHD, there's like rejection. I can't remember what it's called. Some sort of big rejection thing that when you get rejected for something, it can affect you more than
Other
normal people.
people.
I'm like, yay, I'm so
You know,
happy.
I can see that because
I'm
if
gonna
I
look it up.
compare what I'm going through right now through my other two breakups, night and day. So I feel like right now that I'm able to be medicated and it's making me see clearly how I should see, how normal people should see, it's completely different. I don't,
Yeah, when you have mental health
yeah, everything
situations
seems
going
like anything
on.
can seem like a blow up.
So this is called rejection sensitive dysphoria. It's not a formal diagnosis, but it's an intense emotional response to perceived or actual rejection and is often linked to ADHD. That is what the Cleveland Clinic says about it. But both of my therapists now have brought it up to me when I've mentioned random things. I'm like, oh yeah, I got that. Like it could even not be a real rejection, but it'll affect me
Mm-hmm.
very deeply. So I think truly that's probably part of it. But also I did not know how to grieve the relationship being over for sure. So I just remember thinking one night in my in my dorm room, I probably had lived there for like, I don't know, 2 months. It was still pretty fresh. And I just remember crying and I'm just like, I am so freaking sick of crying over a dude. We haven't been together in months. He's a jerk. He's already moved on. Like
He shouldn't even want to be with him. He's a piece of shit.
yeah, I'm just like, but I,
Like, what are we holding on to here?
I wanted to, I didn't want to have to start over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really, yeah, it really wasn't, it felt like it was about him in the moment. But really,
There was really nothing for him.
I wanted like love.
There was
And
nothing about him.
I wanted love in a relationship. So I went to the like, if you are at a college, there are counselors there that you can go to. You have to pay for that. That's part of your tuition. So I remember just thinking, I've got to do something because this is supposed to be an exciting time in my life. I'm at college.
Yeah.
I'm meeting new people. I'm, getting my life in order. Like, I don't want to feel like this. So I think that was the first time I really realized, like, I need outside help. I don't know how to move on from this. It's ridiculous. So I went, I think I called the number. There was a number. And it's like, are you suicidal? I'm like, no, I'm just upset. I want to get over this. And I'm tired of functioning day to day thinking about this all the time.
Yeah.
So I had an appointment and I went and it was an older man, like which was whatever. And so I kind of feel like I was there. I was like crying, like spilling my heart out to him. And he was just like,
Ew.
I really think you would benefit from group therapy. Like he made me feel like what I was going through wasn't important enough to have one-on-one therapy sessions. And I'm like, I'm not having group therapy about this. I don't know anybody here. Like, are you insane? Like, I didn't say that. I'm just like, okay, thanks. And I think that really turned me off. Even though I still liked the idea of therapy, that really turned me off to it because I'm like, I actually was brave enough to seek some help. And I feel like you were just like, just go to group
Yeah, because I
therapy.
remember after I started therapies and I would try to subliminal you and you'd be like, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. But I never gave up. I pressure. There's like a bunch of people in my life that are in therapy now. Okay. I'm like, you are going to therapy. But I feel like that's the sucky part. I feel like that's why I always tell people just because it takes you have to kiss a lot of frogs.
Yeah, it is like it's like dating.
Yeah, you have to kiss a
It
lot of
is.
frogs.
So I had that experience, and then I'll say I don't really know how I got over it. I just numbed out with various different vices and moved on. But then when I was teaching, it was like when you were telling me earlier when you had when you were seeing the lady from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So about 2019, the year 2019, 2020, I mean, I know we had COVID, big pandemic. That's obviously something, but my actual school life before the pandemic happened, that was the year it really got tough on me. Like I felt like the people I worked with, like more so like the principals and stuff, they're like, oh, Amanda, she's so calm and she's so capable and she can handle anything. So like every single year I got behavior issues and the behavior, like the students who were like, were giving like big behavior issues, like it was just so much. And then I had like a combination class and I had to teach two different grade levels. And it was presented to me like, oh, you'll really teach like this curriculum and blah, blah, blah. But in the end, it didn't turn out like that because the different grade level report cards were different. And so I had to teach different standards. And it was just like not what they told me it was going to be. I mean, it's not like I went and volunteered for it. They basically said, hey, we want you to do this. And what do you say? Like, no, thanks. Maybe you have good boundaries. I didn't have any. So I was just like,
Yeah.
okay. But that year I had like a really difficult time. By then, my stepson was already living with us, and he was also going through a lot of like challenges and being like, I don't know. He just had some rough times too. It wasn't his fault either. But like I was doing that at school. I was doing that at home. I was just stressed and overwhelmed. That was also when I started gaining a lot of weight. I was just like, I can't deal with this. And so I was numbing out with food basically. But at that point, I'm like, I was driving down the interstate to meet my husband and kids for dinner after like a Friday after work. And I remember thinking I saw, I don't know what you call those, like the pillars, because I was like on the express
median?
lane. Yeah, when they're like big and concrete. And I didn't want to run into, I have intrusive thoughts too, probably from obsessive compulsive personality disorder. I didn't want to, I wasn't suicidal. I didn't want to die, but I just remember thinking, oh, I could just run into this. I don't have to deal with this anymore. I don't have to feel like this anymore. Obviously, I did not. And I was like, I remember crying that day thinking, no, this is it. Like, I shouldn't even have that thought. So literally on the way to dinner that day, I called, made an appointment to meet with a therapist because my insurance through school had like the EAP program, employee assistant program, where you could see a therapist for X amount of sessions for free. Because I was like, no, this isn't cool. I'm like, don't want to live like this anymore. So there was like a therapist nearby that was part of that program. You could only go to very specific ones. And I met with her and I remember meeting with her and I remember discussing like the challenges I was having at home with my son and the challenges I was having at school. I don't really remember much of what she said, but I remember going, it was in person. I remember going to the building and thinking, I'm not getting I mean, obviously it could be a little scary, but I remember thinking, I don't feel like comfortable. I don't feel safe. And then I met with her and I guess like she was nice, but like I did not feel like we were really connecting. I feel like think about like somebody, like if you're going up to like the DMV, right? And they're just typing your stuff. They're not really there. They're just going through the motions. It felt like that with her. Like she wasn't really there. She was just going through the motions. So I never went back to see her again.
You only went one time?
I went one time. I was just like, this, we're not going to get anywhere.
I have somebody like that I forgot about. Yeah.
Oh, you did? And I don't even know if she gave me any advice or if we were going to make a plan to see each other in the future. I feel like we didn't even. I feel like she didn't care. That was really the feeling I had. So I was like, well, I guess I'll figure this out myself. And I don't know how I did, but obviously I did. I mean, luckily I have my husband. He's really good support for me. He gets annoyed with how much I talk about literally everything in my life, but he still listens. And obviously I have Nancy and, other friends, but still, I don't know if I ever told you like all of that. Like, cause I feel like at that time too, you were still a new mom.
I was going through some shit.
So I know, right? I feel like that was the one time in our life that we were both at a really low point.
I mean, that's the year my therapist abandoned me.
Exactly, right? Like, I think we were still talking and still seeing each other, but I think we were really disconnected at that time.
Yeah.
I feel like we were. Like, I was too much in my own shit, you were in your own shit. And I actually felt really, I remember when I was out of the cloud of smoke, I remember thinking, Nancy's a new mom. She probably needs me. And I feel like I would reach out here and there, and then I would get sucked back in my cloud of darkness.
I don't even remember those years.
Well, maybe that's better. Maybe it's better that way. But okay,
I was like, did she tell me she met with this therapist? I don't remember her telling me.
I mean, I don't even know.
Probably did. I don't know.
Who even knows at this point?
But I was high. So.
Oh God. But so more years passed, and just like here and there, I would notice. Well, one thing I was just like, you know what? I think a lot of my problem is my career, or at least like where I was in the situation I was in at that time. So I decided to, after the school year, to switch districts because I also had to commute. And by then I'd already had my car accident that made me really nervous about like being in long, like, I don't know if I say long drives with traffic, like heavy traffic. That's what made me nervous. And my school was not very close. And so I was in traffic every day. And so I was getting like a new level of anxiety and stress. And so I'm like, well, maybe if at least I move to a school close to my house, that'll help. And it did. But I still just felt overwhelmed.
She always ended up with the crazies.
I did.
Always. I don't know what the fuck you did, but you did.
I did. I guess my crazy attracted them and they just came right up. Like I always had some
crazy ass fucking kids.
Yeah. But really, God bless them. But so last year, 2024, I think early last year, I started toying around with the idea that maybe I should, because I think after I switched jobs and like now I like work from home and I work for a tech company, not that there's no stress, but a lot less stress. Like I have work-life balance now. Like I actually, before I had no life outside of teaching, honestly, I really didn't feel like I did. And now I do. I mean, look, here I am doing this podcast with you. I have time for a life. But, so after changing jobs, I think that helped my stress level a lot. Yeah. But when that happened and I started having time for stuff like being still, being quiet and doing yoga and all of Nancy's learnings over the years she would tell me about and things I would come across on my own. Now that kind of layer of stress was off, I started becoming more aware of stuff. And I'm like, I'm
crazy bitch.
Yeah. Like like my husband would say, I would say something to him like a week later about something. It could be something that was major at the time, or it could have been something that was really nothing. And he would be like, you're still thinking about this? And I'm like, he's like, he'll say like, you're still on this?
Like, what are we talking about?
And he's like, what are you, and I'm like,
are you okay?
He's like, that was a week ago. I'm like, I know. I don't want to be on it anymore. Like, and I'm like, that's ridiculous. And I think at some point we were in the car and I just said to him, like, do you think I need to go to therapy? And he kind of just looked at me. He's like, probably. And then I think I might have even asked you that same day. I did ask you at one point. I'm like, do you think I need to go to therapy? I think I asked him, I'm like, okay. I'm like, do you think I need to go to therapy? And you're like, yes, bitch.
I've been saying this for years.
For like the last 5 years. Go.
Like, damn.
So I was like, you know what? But people often have to come to things.
Everybody has to go to therapy when they, I feel like
when they're ready, when you're aware. You're like you said, think of what you said at the very beginning of this episode. You went to that guy for a handful of years. Yeah. Don't even know really what you said. You weren't even aware. So probably it really didn't do much. I mean, it gave you an outlet to talk about, which was probably healthy. But like now that that time frame and I know how you were during that time frame, like it's like, were you in there? You were in therapy?
No,
you know what I mean?
I wasn't.
So if I would have went, would it have even mattered?
I don't know. I think people go to therapy when they're ready. Unless you're my daughter and you just go to therapy since you're 4.
Right. Well, sometimes you have to put your children there because they don't know that they need it, but you know. Mm-hmm. So that's different. But so how I found my first therapist was, well, I'm saying my first therapist, somebody that I went to see more than one time. Nancy had actually shared her therapist information with me on this website called Psychology Today. And so I just kind of went on there. Like I said, it's like dating. You get these profiles. If you've never been on Psychology Day, you can see some people have pictures and videos, and they'll talk about what, like, modalities or methodologies that they typically use in therapy, and they talk about like their specialties like ADHD, trauma, like whatever. Like you can, I mean, obviously, again, it's like a dating profile, so might seem awesome and might not be awesome, or vice versa. Maybe someone seems real like minimal, and then you're like, oh no, you're the one. But not all therapists are on there, but a lot are. It's just a good way to market yourself and so people can find you. So I looked at, oh man, I don't know, a lot of people, and you can see how much they cost and if they take insurance, all that on there. So I reached out to, I don't know, a handful of people, and you set up consultations if they're going to have I mean, sometimes people would be like, like, are you trying to be in person? Are you trying to be virtual? Like, what time are you looking for? Because I feel like a lot of people do want to go to therapy like after their work day. And so, but therapists don't work till like 9 o'clock typically. So it can be hard to find. You might find the right fit and they might not even have the right time for you. And you'll have to either be flexible and get a different time, or keep looking. So I think that's kind of what I came across a few times. Was I liked someone's profile, but they weren't going to have availability for me. So I had my consultation, and actually red flag for me, but I decided to push through because I thought maybe it was part of my crazy.
I always thought she wasn't your person.
That I need to heal. But she didn't even show, like, the communication started off really, really well, or it started off really good. Like, she was writing me back via email, and then the day of my appointment for my 15-minute phone consultation, she did not call me, and I'm like, weird. And then I'm like, well, maybe she'll reach out, maybe something happened. That's what I told myself, like, right, like, stuff happens.
At first I thought it was your resistance to therapy, because whenever you're resistant or whenever you're trying something new, sometimes a lot of things will happen to be like an obstacle, and it'll be like, let me see if you really want this, bitch.
I think you told me that too. Yeah. And I think my husband was like, people make mistakes. You forget to fill in your calendar. I'm like, you know what? That's fair. Because I'm not really good. I hold grudges with people. So I think in that moment for me,
you thought it was a teachable moment.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn to forgive people.
I'm in therapy.
I'm going to learn that people are human and make mistakes, and that's okay. But the fact, now that I'm like really thinking back, the fact that she wasn't the one who reached out to me and saying, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I missed our call. It was me writing her saying like, hey, what happened? To me,
what do you mean she didn't write?
No, it was me. I reached back out to her like, hey, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't have it on my calendar. And
so she would have forgotten about you, never contacted you again.
Exactly.
Maybe you shouldn't have contacted her.
Well,
maybe that's a lesson in life.
Well, here we are. So it is one of those. But I met with her. We met weekly in the beginning, and to get to know each other and all that good stuff. The practice that she worked at took my insurance, so it was a really good price for me.
Insane.
And she was local if I needed to go, like how I was going to go for the EMDR. But also we met virtually most of the time, and she had the times that worked for me, and like the phone conversation when we finally had our consultation, like it felt good, maybe slightly forced, but I kind of thought that was just me.
No, this is how therapy works.
Yeah. I kind of just thought that was me, like being a little irritated about her not calling me, which again, that's red flaggy. But basically we were together from November, 2024 up until, very beginning of March of this year. So just for like 4 months. And I do think she helped me though. Like she helped me with some boundaries that I needed to put in place. And, what else did she help me? There was something else that I always bring up that she helped me with. No, okay. So like I would always talk to her about like my procrastination around making phone calls and how they made me uncomfortable. And like she kind of gave me some tools to be able to do that and realize that I'm an adult and sometimes you got to make phone calls, take care of yourself, and that I was capable of that. So I'm not saying that I learned nothing, because I definitely learned a lot from her. And I feel like my time with her overall was nice.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like it was a bad experience per se, but the issue that I had with her was like frequently being late to our sessions, which again, that can happen sometimes, but literally every single time she was like 5 minutes late.
No.
Every single time. And Also, we had several miscommunications. I don't know how much of that's on my part. I'm not saying I won't take any responsibility for it, but if I go back and read the message thread, I feel like it ain't me. But, I'm biased. So, but like, there was one time that I was going to go into office and it was supposed to be to do the EMDR. At least that's what we'd said at the end of our last session. But when I went in, that's before I knew you had to do prep work for EMDR. But now I know you have to prep for that, and we hadn't prepped for it yet. But I went in and it was just like a normal thing. And I'm just like, oh, we're going to do EMDR. And she was like, no, we have to prep for that. And I'm just like thinking, why am I here? Like, literally, you knew that I always met with you virtually. The only reason I was coming here was to do the EMDR. So I don't know where the lines got crossed on that communication situation. But also when I went to office, I went to the wrong building because I went to where I did my ADHD testing, like across the street, and you can actually sign in there for like her name was on the list. So I could sign in there. And then eventually she's like, I think you're in the wrong spot. And I'm like, oh. And then when I finally made it to her office, she's like, oh yeah, I probably should have told you that it's a different building. And I'm thinking that would have been super nice because it's like the same address, right? It's just like a suite number is different. So I didn't realize that in the moment. So there was that. And then when we were prepping for EMDR, like obviously she knew enough about me to know that I really like to feel safe. I need to know some details ahead of time. And so I kind of looked into some processes around like what a container was for EMDR. And if you don't know what we're talking about, the last episode we did is actually about Nancy's first EMDR experience. So you can learn more about it there. But I said to her something about I had looked something up and I'd been reading Fourth Wing for any fantasy readers out there. And it really reminded me of Violet and how she had like the archives to put her power in. Like it was real. I was like just so excited to share that with her. And when I met with her, the way she responded about finding out I looked up stuff was not very positive. She was just like, oh, I told you not to look into that because I guess she needed it or wanted it or it was supposed to be a really organic experience to make your container. I didn't go do any of the work to make my container. I just wanted to know.
Surprisingly.
I know. But yeah, I understood that I wasn't trying to do the work without her. I just, like we said, EMDR can be an intense thing and I didn't know how deep we were going to get into it. And I just wanted to know, like, what does it mean to make a container? Like, you didn't have to tell me these are the steps to go through. So I just like looked up, like, what does it mean? That was it. I didn't do any work around it. I was like, I'm going to be cool. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to wait and do it with her. I just wanted to know, like, what to expect. And I guess I thought if she knew me better, she would know that about me. I don't know.
This is why I think that it's, I don't know if people should start EMDR that soon. I don't know.
I mean, that's true, right? I mean, I feel like I've been open with her from the very beginning, so I feel like she would have known my personality. And I understand, like, if you want me to grow and not work on that, but maybe you could have said to me, how about for practicing, like, let's practice not having to know every detail and don't look into it. But it wasn't like that. And I'm not saying like she for sure scolded me. I'm saying my interpretation of that experience was I felt scolded, and knowing me, and I don't get over things well and I hold grudges against people. I'm just like, how am I going to continue this relationship with her and not feel some kind of way? Even if I talk to her about it, like I'm still going to feel it. And how am I going to grow if I no longer feel quote unquote safe with you?
But even, okay, let's say that she did say, don't do it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you went and did it.
But I wouldn't have.
No, but wait.
I'm a rule follower.
Let's say you did.
Okay.
Isn't part of being therapy having someone who's understanding of the mistakes that you made? Because
that's true.
That's why the fuck you're in therapy.
I mean, that's so true.
Like when remember I told you I lied to my therapist. I had never lied to her.
Right.
And when I told her I lied to her, her face didn't even change. She was like, okay.
Yeah, I remember you told me you were really afraid to.
Yeah, I was
you
so
were even
scared.
And you already had a good relationship and you were afraid. And then I remember you wrote me and I'm just like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's what I want.
Yeah, she didn't even give a fuck. She was
compassion.
Yeah, she was like, oh, you lied? I was like, yeah. And she was like, tell me about it. That's it. She wasn't like, oh my God, you lied. So I feel like even if she would have said, no, don't do it, and you still did it, she still had to be compassionate because the reason that you did it is probably the reason you need therapy.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, bro.
Exactly.
I'm not here to be judged. If I want, I'll call my mom.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
Well, yeah. And it's just like, I'm paying you to be, and I mean, no. I mean, I don't pay her, or I didn't pay her and expect her to like do everything like I wanted.
No.
I understood like that I'm going to be uncomfortable and stuff, but like I felt like I'm too old to be getting scolded by you.
Yeah.
Or again, I don't know that that's exactly what happened, but that's the way I felt. And I'm like, I'm sorry, if I need to get some information and feel more comfortable about doing something super intense, then that's what I'm old enough to make that choice for myself.
Yeah.
So there's that too. I think that bothered me too, knowing that number one, if she would have told me not to do it ahead of time, I'm such a rule follower. Like it's like your daughter said the other day, like, no, I would never download that on my school computer. I would be in trouble. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I related,
Losers. I'm just
I related to that. So like, had she literally said, you cannot leave this up, it's really important for the prosecutor. Like, okay, that's a rule.
Yeah.
We're good. That's a boundary. I'm good with that. But it was the fact that she acted like she told me. And if she did, I missed it, but I don't miss a lot. I remember way too many details about way too much. But anyway, all I had said was like in an email before that, I asked if there was anything I needed to do to prepare. And to me, the fact that I had to ask kind of bothers me. Like I should have already known if you know what I'm saying? But because it was like after our session and she just said no, that I didn't need to do anything. That isn't no, don't go do anything. No, I don't need to prepare anything. That's different than telling me don't look into this.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. I'm going to have to, I think I've already let it go. I'm just talking about it again, so it feels intense. But I tried to get over that. Actually, I talked to Nancy about it. I talked to my husband about it. I talked to my friends
I
about
already
it.
knew she was never going to get
And I
over
was
it.
just like, and I was actually, the problem was my husband got sick the week I was supposed to go in person for EMDR. And I really was not avoiding the EMDR. Like I was excited. I want to get over this bullcrap interstate driving. Like I was like, yes, EMDR. I was ready. I'd already told everybody I was going to do it. I was ready to come on this podcast and give an episode all about like, yay, my EMDR. So I'm actually kind of sad because now, like you said, I think it's going to be smarter to wait a while to do it, even though I feel extremely comfortable with my new therapist, but not the point. So yeah, my husband got sick and I had to cancel my appointment. And I'm like, I feel way too relieved that I had to cancel. Like way too relieved. And even my communication with her about canceling my appointment and my reasons, like, again, everybody's their own person. But the way I would have responded would have been like, oh, like more friendly. Like she was like, oh, do you want to do virtual instead? And I'm like, cause I said, I don't want to come in person. I'm exposed. I'm not sick yet, but I don't know, you know, she's like, okay, do you want to do virtual? And I was just like, I thought about that, but then if I get sick, I'm probably not going to feel like it. And like, she never even said anything again. Again, she didn't have to, but like me, if it were me and what I'm looking for in somebody who's supposed to be helping me grow as a person, like I think it could have been nice to be like, okay, understand, hope you don't get sick or hope you and your husband feel, but you know, just a little thing. Like, would it have hurt? I wanted that. Not everybody's going to do that, but that was another sign for him. Like, you didn't say any, like, even just to like acknowledge that, you know, we're not going to meet, or like, okay, I'll see you next, or even just, okay, see you next time. But like nothing. That was not enough for me. I needed a little more. So I was like, dang it, I'm going to have to find it. Like just in that day, I knew like, son of a gun, I'm going to have to find somebody else. So then again, I went scouring. I'm like, but I want to make sure I'm a good personality fit with somebody this time, because also, I mean, there's so many different experiences you can have at therapy, and based on your therapist's personality, based on your personality. And I mean, obviously I know my therapist is not my friend, but I want my interactions with them to feel more like that comfortable, like how I am sitting here talking to you right now. I wanted that because I'm going to be my more authentic self if I feel like I can do that. Not like when it feels super clinical, and it felt a little too clinical for me with my last one. So anyway, I didn't tell my therapist that yet because I'm like, I'm not sure, but let me just shop around. And I actually went on TikTok and looked up like Georgia therapists, because I'm like, let me see if I can find what people's personality is like. And so there were 4 people I found and that I reached out to, and my impulsive self went with the very first one who wrote back. But
I knew that was going to happen.
But in my defense, based on everyone's like profile in Psychology Today, the therapist that I have, like before I had spoken to anybody, I knew on paper it looked like the best fit. Like she specializes in ADHD. And I wasn't diagnosed yet, but I was already pretty sure I was going to have ADHD, and coping skills, which I need coping skills to deal with all my overthinking and whatever. I knew she'd worked with people with eating disorders. And I'm not saying I necessarily had an eating disorder, but I have food issues. So I also thought, that could probably be helpful. And I don't remember what else on there. But the way her profile read, like, I'm just like, she's probably at least on paper, she's the best fit for me. And then the way her communication style was, I mean, she literally had, me and her went back and forth like 7 emails, and I couldn't even get it okay from my last therapist. Like, I don't know, it just meant a lot to me. And So we had our consultation, and I'm like, oh, because I told myself, and I told Nancy, and I told my husband,
Whatever.
I said, I'm going to talk to everybody. I'm not going to be impulsive. But I just knew. It's kind of like what you said when you saw your person's face and you
I
knew.
just knew.
I knew in that conversation, I'm like, oh God, this is it. Like this feels. And I had she asked me what had happened because she'd asked me, like, have you ever been in therapy? So I had to kind of explain what happened with my last therapist. And I didn't want to like quote unquote therapist shame. So I didn't say like everything.
Word,
I just kind of said like, the whole EMDR situation is mostly what I struggle. And I think I did mention the frequently being late, and that bothered me because I noticed that this lady called me right on the dot, and I like, yep, that's good. So, and she was just really understanding, really compassionate to me. And we had I'm just like, yes, this is the experience I'm looking for. So then we had like our first session. It was like an hour and a half because it was the intake, getting to know me, and literally feel like her and I in my freaking intake, which is generally just going over some information, finding little things. I felt like we went deeper, and I did more with her in that one session than all the ones with the other one. And I walked away from that like, oh my God, this is therapy. It just, it was just the right fit. So when the day I got my ADHD results back, which was right after my intake with her, we hadn't had like a quote unquote real session yet. And I like sent them to her. And it was like way what I would consider after hours. I was not anticipating, like I didn't have this big expectation of, okay, she's going to write me back today about it or maybe at all. Cause what was there to say? She literally wrote me like within the hour, like saying, oh, thank you so much for sending these to me. I'll read them. I'll start reading them like right away or something. Literally, I started crying because I'm like, oh my God, somebody cares about me. And I told Nancy, she's like, bitch, a lot of people care about you. Like that
you just met this bitch 2 minutes ago.
But that was your literal response. You're like, a lot of people. And I actually told my therapist that you said that to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, because I told her when I met with her, I'm like, I just want you to know
that you're the only one that cares about me.
No, I'm just like, I just want you to know how much that meant to me that
you care about me, even though I have a husband and a best friend and children and parents.
Yeah. But I guess my whole life I haven't felt quote unquote important. Like, you know what I mean? Like important sometimes.
Okay.
So she made me feel like I mattered. And like I wasn't invisible. That was a word we talked about recently. That I wasn't invisible to her. Like she's like, I see you, and I'm glad you sent me that, and I'm going to look into it. And that just literally broke my heart. But I don't know, maybe in a good and bad way, because I was like happy that somebody cared, but I was also sad that I'm like, I'm this old and this is what it took for, you know what? Because like you said, you happy, and I'm like, this is the moment that meant so much to me.
My fucking therapist, who I pay to give a fuck, gives a fuck.
I didn't pay her to send that email, but no, for sure. But I told her, and she's like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and validate you. She's like, yes, of course I care. And so it was just, we're just right, okay? It's just right, and like I've only had. Plus the intake, 3 sessions with her by now. Because it's still
already
it's pretty fresh. But we've had 3.
I feel like it's been so long and nothing. Oh my God.
Well, we're doing every other week. I just went on a trip. But yeah, it's been 3, and they've all felt more meaningful, and that we went deeper. We talked about childhood and stuff. That was also something too. I knew going into therapy, I guess I didn't talk about why I started, other than the fact that I started noting.
Know.
Yeah, right. No surprise. I just. Oh my God, this is my best friend, y'all. But like, I was so sick of being in these thought loops. Like, I was still functioning. I wasn't like miserable. I'm not like depressed, like, but I have anxiety, and I'm just like, this level of anxiety is just too much. Like, somebody help me.
Anxiety
help me, dick. Yeah, like help me, man. And now that I know that I also have ADHD, like that just and what do I have? What do I have? Obsessive compulsive personality. So like, I'm like, yeah, I need I need a little help. I'm a little, like Nancy said earlier today, you're a little much. I'm like, I'm a lot of much, but anyway. So yeah, therapy is, for me currently, like we're in a good place. We're getting deep. I've had, oh my God. She gave me homework. I can't tell you how excited I was.
Yeah, because this bitch has been wanting
to get homework.
It's because your other therapy I always thought was weird, but whatever.
I mean, yeah, but my homework was, for anybody who cares, because I'm looking for people to care about me, clearly.
Somebody please validate this.
Somebody write in the
Somebody
comments.
write in comments so
that
she
you
feels
care.
fucking validated. Please, God.
But we decided that I avoid a lot of things, and I mean, I kind of knew that, but not really. When we really started talking, I'm like, oh yeah, wait a minute. So my homework was to, like, over the next, like, week and a half, to see what kind of things I'm avoiding in my life. And so I came back and I had my, like, little list on my phone, and she's like, wow, you're really aware. She's like, I'm really impressed how self-aware you are, and how you really started noticing these things. She's like, this is a big accomplishment. I'm like, oh my God.
Look at me, mommy.
Yeah, exactly. That's what therapy's for, Nancy.
Sorry.
If you can't laugh about it, what can you do? But what was really cool
Look what
was
I can do.
oh my God. I had to turn off your mic.
I've been here since 8. Okay.
She took me all these crazy adventures today. Okay, but I feel like in my last therapist, I didn't quote unquote really have homework. I kind of gave myself homework to, like, look at what traits I related to when it came to ADHD. And so, like, I told my former therapist that, but we didn't really do anything on that. But this lady, I'm like, okay, here are all the things I avoided. And she's like, all right, now she wrote them all down. And I love this. She doesn't have not that this matters, but she doesn't have a notebook. Like, she has a whiteboard. So she writes things on a whiteboard, and then she can put the notes in right after, because, you got to put them on the computer or whatever. But, like, I don't know. I just like that. Why? I don't know. It made me feel like she's more engaged. Maybe not. I don't know. But I liked it. But that's not the point of this. The point is, so she wrote them all down, and she's like, all right. And I'm like, okay, cool. We're good. And she's like, now let's talk about each of them, and let's see if we find any themes, any patterns. And I'm like, oh, we're going to do something with this? Okay. And, like, we found themes of me avoiding things out of fear of being embarrassed, like returns. Like, I feel like I get embarrassed about that because I think they're going to think I'm lying. Why? I don't know. So I don't return stuff, because maybe from working at the shoe department, and people are like, I didn't wear these shoes as they're caked in 4 pounds of mud.
Well, yeah, but they don't give a fuck.
I know. That's what my husband always says. Is like, they're going to take it back. They don't care. But, like, also, I'm a rule follower, so I wouldn't go return something I use that wasn't returnable anyway. So, like, why do I even care? Because I already know for sure that it's legit. But maybe it's from childhood, and my mom not believed me when I said, oh, my brother started this situation, but I always got in trouble. I was never believed. So it could be that. I don't know. I also have fear of missed FOMO with a bunch of stuff, right? Like, fear of missed, like, opportunities with things. There was another theme I don't know, but I just thought it was really cool that we actually did, like, I did homework, and I'm just like, okay, this is therapy. So things are going good in therapy at the moment for me. And
Yay.
I guess for you, because you're on your EMDR journey.
Therapy's amazing, everyone. It's a joy to need it.
Everybody needs it.
Like, Renata will even be like, when am I going to therapy? I need it.
Oh,
Yeah. We can bring her out here and we could ask her questions about therapy as a 7-year-old.
We're going to bring on Nancy's child, who has been in therapy for a few years, and we're going to ask her a few questions.
Come here.
We're going to put you on the podcast.
Do you want to be on the podcast? How do you feel about being in therapy?
Okay.
What do you mean, okay?
Like, I like it because I have someone to talk to.
Can you tell us some things you do in therapy? Like, you don't have to tell us, like, specifically what you talked about, but, like, do you, like, do some, like, games or anything? What do you do when you go to therapy?
I talk about things, and while we talk about things, I get to play with toys.
Oh.
What did she tell you last time? What happened? That if you talk about it, what happens?
You won't be sad no more if you're sad.
Aw. Do you think
if you talk it out?
Did you talk it out? Do you think that when you're a grown up, and I don't force you to go to therapy, and you can make the choice to go to therapy, do you think you'll continue to go to therapy?
Probably.
Do you know any other kids in your school that go to therapy?
No.
Do you think everyone should go to therapy?
Yes.
Why?
So they can talk about things.
Thank you for coming on the show. You're our first ever.
You're our first guest.
You're our first guest. Woo! For my baby. We love you. Thank you.
She's like, I ain't got no time for this. She's like, y'all are embarrassing me.
Yeah, she loves therapy and she loves her therapist. She does.
I'll say, my son was in therapy when he was her age.
Oh.
About her age. And he was in therapy for many years, and he had a very good relationship with his therapist. And then when COVID happened, it just so happened his therapist was also pregnant. And she decided, with everything going on in the world, that she was going to take a break from therapy. So for a little bit, he wasn't in therapy. And then, and we had moved too, so we were in a new location. We had him meet with someone else. And I think by that time he was already like teen vibes. And I think it can be harder to start fresh with someone, but he stayed with that person for about a year. And he seemed overall, I mean, truly anybody could be in therapy for longer, but, after about a year, they were taking like a summer break. She also was taking a break, and then we just didn't go back. He could have benefited from it still, I think, but he at that point was resistant as well. So to me, it's like we said earlier, if you're resistant to go, you could probably still get something out of it, but it won't be as good. I do hope that at some point in his life he'll decide to go again.
I think if her therapist were to disappear, not disappear, but like go away, I don't know how. I mean, she's been going, and the only reason she took her is because Renata started talking when she was 10 months old. So Renata was her very first 4-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Who could talk. Yeah. So she's like, I don't take 4-year-olds. She said, but I'm so, I just want to this is like a study for me. Like, I want to see what I can get out of a fucking 4-year-old.
Sure.
So so that's why she took her. So they've been together, she's about to be 8.
Right.
Together for 4 years. And I asked her how long she could have Renata. And she's like, I will be her therapist for the rest of her life if she wants me to.
Wow.
She's like, as long as she's not older than me, that's my only rule.
That's really cool, though. I mean, because, we talked earlier about maybe there comes a time where you don't need to go anymore. Like if you've healed your childhood, you know how to handle situations. And maybe it's one of those things you might pop in occasionally, just, Yeah. But it's definitely different when you're a child. You're changing so much every year and you're learning all those things. So I think having someone from her age, like all through developmentally, will be
and that knows her from ever.
Exactly.
For her entire life.
She is like a little experiment, and I'm really interested to see how that goes. I think it's going to really help her through life. I hope to God. And she's so lucky that she has you.
Is she?
Yes. Nobody took me to therapy, and I could have used some, Nancy.
You're right. No, I took her to therapy to deal with me.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
That's still, honestly.
Yeah.
A lot of people won't do that.
No. I did it because I was fucking her up so bad.
So honestly, yeah, she's lucky she had you, and that you wanted to get her going right,
I'm going to take that compliment. Thank you.
Yes, that's good.
I'm going to be feminine about it. Thank you.
Oh, good. All right. Anything else you want to say?
No, ma'am.
All right. Well, if you are someone out there and you're considering going to therapy for whatever reasons,
just go.
Nancy will always say, just go. Definitely. I suggest checking out Psychology Today. Other options are, just Googling in your area therapist. You can ask people that if they have any recommendations, because a lot of people do work for like my former therapist worked in a therapy group. So there were several therapists there. So even if, the therapist you talk to isn't a good fit, they might be like, oh, but so-and-so down the hall would be great for you.
I also want to say something that is going to come off really bitchy. A lot of people say they can't afford it. You can afford it. Stop going out to eat. Stop going to Sephora. Stop. If you have to stop your subscriptions, stop them.
Starbucks every day. That's pricey.
Yeah. Because I feel like before that was my biggest excuse.
Okay.
And then I stopped doing other little things so I could afford therapy. And now I realize that why do I even want to, I was so depressed and so unhappy. And I went and did all these things and always pretended to be happy. And for most of them I was, but I was like, why do I want to have all these things?
Like it can't buy you happiness, right?
It's not going to make me happy. I'd rather go to therapy and not go out to eat ever again.
Yeah.
And I will say this, once you start paying for it, the universe thinks she deserves it. She's paying for it. She deserves it. I'm going to find a way that she will always have the money to make it happen.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, obviously you can be on a budget. We know the times I feel like times are always hard. Why do I say that? You know what I mean? But like I said on Psychology Today, you can see right there if they take your insurance. I mean, I'll just tell you, my first person that the place she worked for took my insurance, it was $15 a session. Obviously, different people, depending on how many years experience they have and what kind of therapy they do, you know, the price can go up. I mean, it can go up to $150. It can go up to more than that. But if you have a job with insurance, there's a good chance that you can get somewhat of a discount, or at least you can try.
Yep.
Or you might have to shop around to find the best fit on a budget as well. But there's definitely help out there. And I wish, like you asked me 2 episodes ago now, do I wish I had been tested for ADHD sooner? And I said yes. And I really wish that I would have been in therapy as a child. I think that I would have had a lot more, like I would have had a healthier relationship with food.
But you wouldn't be who you are.
I don't know. Maybe I'd be somebody better. I don't know. I know. Like it is what it is, and you happen. But maybe this is a sign for someone out there to explore what's out there for you and see if there's a good match for you. If you feel like there's something you need to work on, which, spoiler alert, there's something there's something for everyone.
Go to therapy.
Yeah,
everybody needs to be in therapy and stay there.
All right. Well, thanks so much for listening, and we will catch you next time.
Hey besties, if you love the chaos, the laughs, and the real talk, don't forget to hit the follow button. Subscribe, share, and tell your friends because bitches be cray, and you know you love it. New episodes drop every other Wednesday, so stay tuned and stay cray. Bye, bitches.